may be exposing the boomer in me, but I recently discovered SHEIN. Have you heard of this? Are you familiar? I had heard about it maybe a year ago at this point, but I had never looked into it, mostly because the site is full of clothes that aren't really my style. If you're not familiar with it, it is a clothing website. It's actually one of the top apps on the Apple Store right now, and it's just really, really cheap clothing. So to give you a sense, $8 t-shirts, but they do these sales where they'll sell literally $1, 99 cent, $2, $3 shirts. And anyways, I ordered some stuff from them, and it was hit and miss, kind of like what everybody says. I think I got one pretty nice jacket from it, but overall, I mean, the designs are pretty cheap, the material is pretty cheap, but I got probably 5 or 6 things, and I paid about $35, $40 for it. Shipping was free, and it took about 2 weeks. But what's so weird about it is it's just the most Chinese drop shipping weird thing. So I started to kind of look into it a little bit. Yeah, known for selling relatively inexpensive apparel, SHEIN's success has been credited to its popularity amongst Generation Z consumers. The company was initially compared to that of drop shipping business. So drop shipping obviously is if I were to sell you an iPad, but I don't own an iPad, but I wait for you to give me the money for an iPad, and then I go buy one and send it to you, but I charge you more. That's how drop shipping businesses work, and they're not illegal, but they're just usually kind of sketchy and scammy. Anyway, so that's what SHEIN initially was, but then they got involved with having their own distribution chain. In 2022, SHEIN generated $24 billion in revenue, a total almost as large as established retailers like Zara and H&M. SHEIN was valued at $100 billion after a funding round in April of 2022. According to Bloomberg, Businessweek, and others, SHEIN's business model has benefited from the China-United States trade war, particularly in regards to tax advantages. In recent years, SHEIN has found itself in the middle of several controversies. Essentially, there's many things that they're being hit in. I think a huge part of it is the sustainability, environmental impact. Other media outlets have pointed at the addictive nature of the app, noting how its low prices get people to buy things they do not need due to its affordability. Most clothes are not high quality and can lead people to dispose of them, exacerbating the textile waste problem. The company was recently outed for producing more than 6.3 million tons of carbon dioxide every year. I mean, I'd argue Amazon is kind of like that, but obviously $4 shirts. I mean, I bought the clothes kind of intending for them not to be something that I would actually wear long term. Although some of it I will. Other things probably just won't last more than a couple washes. The material's just going to fall apart. So you can see where the environmental issues kind of come into play there. They have lead toxicity concerns. They had what was it? Yeah, they got caught selling a toddler's jacket that contained almost 20 times the amount of lead permitted under the Health of Canada safety regulations. The company also sold a red purse that contained 5 times the permitted amount of lead. That could just be one-off, but doesn't look great. They've also been accused of labor violations. No huge surprise there. Chinese workers were working 75-hour weeks. Where was it? I love this part. Public Eye also discovered workshops with blocked corridors and stairways. So essentially they were trapped slaves. It's a great place to buy clothes if you don't really care. I mean, if you're like me, I typically have not really bought quality clothes, although that's something I'd like to change. So, I mean, I don't know. It's the ultimate conundrum. I've said that we can't solve the world's problems as long as people are always looking for the best bargain. I mean, that's obviously one facet of a very complex world that we live in. But ultimately, can you blame the people who are buying the $4 shirts? Not really. Can you blame the people who are selling you the $4 shirts? Not really, in my opinion. There's no one to blame. Just a ever-expanding, ever-accelerating economy that demands things like a $24 billion revenue year. As a $100 billion company, that's celebrated. That's a celebrated thing. The carbon dioxide aspect of it is probably not as applauded. So, how do you do these things sustainably? Do we have answers? I don't know. I don't have answers. But I just thought that was interesting. There's also another app called Temu that's very similar. You've probably heard of it. If you haven't, it is literally #1 on the App Store. I haven't dug into that. I did order some stuff from Temu that I might include in a later video. It's the same thing. It's SHEIN, but like stuff instead of clothes. Not that SHEIN doesn't do stuff, but it's mostly like off-brand headphones from China. All that off-brand stuff. Just absolute rip-off, cheapest you can get it. And so I think that's the Generation Z, as they're calling it, way of shopping. I don't know. I think that's probably just an answer to a very bizarre economy with hyperinflation. I mean, the tagline for Temu is "Shop like a billionaire." That kind of, you could unpack that. You could write a whole paper unpacking kind of how that might reflect the zeitgeist of the times. We'll see. Are we now subjugated to another world economy? Are we the new guinea pigs, the test subjects, the second nation? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing, it's very hot and very sweaty in here. It's a problem. I set all this up, I break a sweat, I sit down, I'm very uncomfortable. Then I get back up, I break it all down, I break a sweat, and then I go sit in a chair and edit while I'm very uncomfortable. This is the cycle. This is the cycle of filming. This is a little different format I'm going to try some more of, just because I want to play with some lighting stuff. And I figure it's kind of a little more relaxing than sitting at my computer with a bright, harsh light on me. But we'll see. Let me know what you think. Bye. Peace.